This is part two of my undefeated series. The last guest I had, Christian Nativad, um, beat Unsullied, undefeated, and that's the same for my next guest, Amun Cosme. Moon, what's up, man? How are you?
What's up, brother? How you doing?
Man, you look fresh today. You look fresh. You look good. I could tell you're looking in shape. So tell me, man, like we got a fight coming up soon. How are you feeling?
Oh man, I am feeling amazing. You probably hear it every camp. Everyone's like, "Oh, I'm feeling good. I'm feeling this." I keep it 100. Like everybody knows the fight life. You're always trying to like sustain injuries and like mitigate through different things. But one thing that I learned as an amateur is to stay consistent. So I don't just train when I have a fight. I'm pretty much always in shape. I just have to make sure I get in fight shape, which is more mental than it is physical. Like I run, I lift. I train Monday through Saturday. Sometimes I even do Sunday. So I'm always in shape, but fight shape for me is more of a mental shape. It's like the willingness to live and die in the cage, basically. So that's a different kind of shape you got to prepare yourself for. And I'm 30 days away from my fight. And with that being said, I'm ready.
You look excited, man. Like you got that glow about you, like you're a kid that's getting ready to go to bed before Christmas morning. Like you have that energy, you have that excitement, and on your things on social media that you've been kicking out there, like you're always like a pretty excitable, happy-go-lucky kind of guy. But like I could tell you have a fight imminent because there's like this extra like hop in your step. Like you seem ready, you seem really happy about it. But before I ask you about your upcoming opponent, I wanted to ask you about Mike Wilson and what happened at NFC 131.
Yes.
You picked up a UD victory over a very tough guy who's been around for a really long time. He's fought a lot of guys. And can you tell me a little bit about how that fight with Mike went? Like, I'm sure you've looked at your tape. What did you like about your performance, and what are some things that you're like, man, I need to brush up on that?
Yeah, so a little bit of backstory on that. First of all, hats off to Mike. Mike Wilson is probably the toughest opponent I faced. He wasn't the most skilled opponent, but there were at least three, four, maybe five opportunities for me to finish. And I'm a finisher. Like most of my fights, I've only had two amateur fights go to distance. None of my other fights have went the distance. And he was just a tough motherfucker. Like, oh, can we curse?
Man, yeah,
All
yeah,
right.
yeah. Oh
All
yeah.
right, cool. But he was a tough motherfucker. Like, and he gave me everything he got. I dropped him. I wobbled him like coming out 20 seconds into the fight. And when I caught him with that left hook, I had like hit a left hook and then switched. I saw him wobble, and you ever hear the saying like victory has defeated you? Like that left hook catching him 20 seconds into the fight, like ramped my mindset up, and then I was chasing the knockout versus letting it come to me. And like once I start, like people know like I've had people question, like, I wonder if he can go 3 rounds because he always finishes his fights. I'm like, ain't nobody in there gonna have better conditioning than me. I can guarantee that. So when I set a pace, I never back down. So it's up to my opponent. You either deal with the pace, or if you back down, then you're in trouble. And Mike came, he rose to the occasion, and like he gave me everything he got, didn't quit. I had him I literally heard him gargling for air. When I had that rear naked choke set in, he was like,
Mhm.
and he peeled my hands, and like his fingers caught my glove. And he didn't like do it on purpose or anything, but he did exactly what he was supposed to do and started peeling my hand. And then like I couldn't get my hand back, so I couldn't switch. And then I also had an injury that I didn't tell anybody about going into the fight, and it got worse every round.
Oh, goodness.
So like, yeah, I had pulled the groin a couple weeks prior, so the whole game plan that we had kind of got thrown out the window because I couldn't slide to my right, which was part of the game plan because he's a southpaw. So I was gonna roll out to the right. I had a whole thing set up, and then yeah, I just fucked my groin up. And like for the last 2 weeks after the fight, I could barely walk on it. And like I completely tore it. It looked like somebody hit me in the leg with a baseball bat. But yeah, but
Man,
other
like
than that, like
you know what? Like I have a podcast and I'm like, feeling all nasty because all the pollen that's going on today. And you know what, man? that's the equivalent of tearing my groin because I'm like, man, I had to take a cough drop to get on this thing. I'm a little sleepy, but I think that just
Yeah.
shows like it's a good reminder, I think, to everybody, like whether you're really hurt or not. I think everybody's hurt going into a fight.
Yeah.
Everyone
Yeah.
is. Like you're nicked up, best case. But
Yes.
a lot of guys, they're like, oh yeah, like I tore my MCL and I'm out here, or oh yeah, like
Yeah.
I sprained my elbow or something weird when I was rolling. So like
Yeah.
things happen all the time. And as the fight progressed, was it bothering you more and more? Or was it
Yeah. So like
adrenaline in and you were just kind of locked in and you weren't really
not
feeling
so
much?
like even through the adrenaline, like so I broke this hand in my third amateur fight against Avamai. It was like my first amateur title shot, and I didn't like it didn't hurt until after the fight. This is the first time I had an injury going into the fight, and I was moving, and I'm explosive. So like when I go, like there's no taking it back. Once you decide to go, you can't ungo. And like I was moving and shifting, and like I was doing stuff. And if you look at that fight, I think I threw like 3 kicks. I threw like 2 teeps with my right leg, and then I threw like an inside leg kick. But other than that, I didn't throw any kicks, which normally I don't I'm not like a kicker, but like I use kicks to set up a lot of my striking and my takedowns and shit. And yeah, the first round it hurt. Then when I got the rear naked choke in the second round, when he escaped, he did what he was supposed to do, which is like turn his hips and scrub his shoulders against the mat. So I couldn't choke him, and he scrubbed his whole body against like my groin,
Oh,
against the muscle that was already torn. And there's a tiny snippet on the video. If you look at my face, you see me going like this, and I said, "Fuck it." I just let it go and tried to go and get to the top position. And then in the third round, we had some exchanges on the ground and like on the cage, and he went for guillotine, and he tried to flip me, and I rolled through it and stood back up, and we were kind of connected, and he went in like he was going to do like a body lock takedown, like a shot. And I went to step back, and I hit like what the little sweat spot we were on, and then my whole leg slid. And if you look at the tape, like I'm trying to catch my balance, but I can't put any weight on my left leg. So like even on the ground and pound where I was trying to posture up, every time I put my left leg up, I had to put it back down and then post my other leg up to do ground and pound on that side. So like these are things that happen in the fight that like people have are unaware of. But like to be 100% honest, I was really disappointed after that fight because I was like, man, I had like 4 or 5 opportunities to finish and I didn't finish. And hats off to Mike. But I just hold myself to a high standard. And I'm like, you can't have somebody in trouble 4 or 5 times in the fight and then not fucking finish. So like literally at the post-fight interview, it was all going hype, and I looked like I just lost. I felt disappointed, and everybody's like, "Yo, cheer up, cheer up." I'm like, "Fuck that!" Like,
yeah. Well, I understand because I understand that mentality because I think I have a pretty good pulse on like where you are in your life and where you are at. And it's like I'm so close. And in order for me to stand out, it's not just about winning, it's about winning great. Like I have to really put a stamp on something.
that's it.
And
That's
so I
it.
completely understand. Like it's one thing to like, and no disrespect to any Amy listening to the show, everyone has to start somewhere, but it's like
Yeah,
it's different. You're at a different point in life when you're an Amy and you just get your first win, and it's like, oh, this is great, this is
yeah,
fantastic, but you're at a different spot, and it's like no, it's not as simple as winning or not winning. It's you have to win a certain way.
yeah. You have to win in in good fashion. Like, I juggle like 3 things going into a fight, and it's like the mentality of what's going on. Like, you can have a game plan, but number one, you have to be able to adjust no matter what happens, right? And a fight is a game of adjustments. You can have a perfect game plan, or you could throw the perfect technique and not be in the right range, so it doesn't matter. So you have to feel the range, you have to feel the danger, you have to be closer to the danger in order for you to get your shit off. So like if you're not constantly adjusting that game plan, it doesn't matter. Then it's like, hey, are you sticking to the game plan long enough to see if it'll work? All right. So then you have like that aspect of it. And then you say, okay, well, was it a good game plan? Did your opponent do something different than y'all had originally started. So now you have to have either. So there's a lot going on going into there, and it's like the greats. I don't want to be good. No one like fuck good. Like the greats find a way to get the job done no matter what the circumstances are. And a fight, you're going to be constantly adjusting. And I talked with one of my coaches and my best friend, and I was like, the difference between like a Mayweather and like other really high level boxers, like still the top level boxers. I'm like, a good guy can go in and after one round, he goes to the corner, his coaches can give him advice, right? I said a good guy, an average guy will after the fight can go back and get better, right? So after the whole fight, a really good person can make adjustments uh, from round to round. Like, hey, look, he's doing this, you do this, you go out and you do an adjustment. I was like, a great fighter makes in-round adjustments. He's picking up on what's going on right there. And I'm like, you want to be that guy. You want to be that person that you, the Izzy, the Jones, the DCs, the Stipe. You want to be able to make those adjustments in the fight because anything can happen in a fight. You could be winning, and the next thing you know, clip,
Yeah.
like,
Yeah,
it's over.
absolutely. And I'm so glad that you said that, Moon, because looking at all your tape, like there isn't anything about you physically that stands out to me. Like you do everything so well. Like I can't say like his striking stands out, his grappling stands out, his jujitsu stands out. Nothing stands out to me. And I mean that in the most complimentary thing imaginable. It's about mixed martial arts. You have to be good at everything. But where I see differences between you and your opponents is your fight IQ. And I'm so glad that you talked about all this stuff because I think the things that you're referencing about making the adjustments and anticipating what your opponent is going to do, you frustrate a lot of people because of that. Like I can tell, like you are very evasive and you're really difficult to hit.
Yeah, I don't like that. That right there is a learned thing. Like that's something that I've been doing since I had my first fight in 2016 because I've always been a smaller opponent. I'm one of 8 brothers and sisters. I grew up in
You got your
some
ass whipped growing up, then you.
yeah, I'm the youngest boy, and there's a young my little sister, but then everybody else is older. So my older sisters used to beat me up, like, but like I grew up in areas where I was fighting all the time in school, on the block, just like it, I'm not afraid to get hit, but like my coach put it in me. He's like, hey man, number one, footwork is the foundation of striking, right? And rule number one is hit and don't get hit. And it's like you're explosive, use that to your advantage. You could be in, you could be out. And then like as an amateur, I would literally like I've been practicing these footwork drills literally since 2016. And everybody asks me, oh man, how do you do this when you're striking? I'm like, to be honest, I'm not thinking about that shit. This is shit that I've just been drilling for the past 5 years. And somebody gave me a compliment the other day, and it like blew my mind because they have the fight IQ to notice what I was doing. They was like, man, you remind me of like a Dillashaw, a TJ Dillashaw with some of your footwork, but like more power in your hands, kind of like how Tyson's does his shifts. And he's like, it's kind of like you're like a Dominic Cruz with stronger like hands. I was like, it's crazy because I literally had a book and I was like, these are the people's footwork that I've been practicing. It was Dominic Cruz, TJ Dillashaw, obviously Ali and guys like that. But I was like, well, what can I benefit? Like my hands are powerful. So I was like, okay, Mike Tyson. Then I was like, I like old school boxing. That's why I grew up watching boxing. So I went like black and white, like Willie Pep. People don't even know who that is. Mm-hmm. He had one of the things that TJ Dillashaw does. Willie Pep was doing. This is like 50s, 40s, and they call it the Willie Pep step. And I started practicing it in shadow. I was like, oh man, this is cool. And then I started doing it in striking. So it was like, rule number one is hit and don't get hit. And I'm like, if it's a round where I hit you 5 or 6, 7, 8 times, doesn't sound like a lot, but they're quality shots, and you didn't hit me once, then cool.
Yeah, you're definitely avoiding a war of attrition because that's one of the things you see, especially for younger guys, is like, yes, like you're a badass, yes, you're strong, yes, you're an amazing boxer, but like everything adds up over time. And like if you can't adjust your game, you're going to be limited in how far you can go and like what you'll be able to accomplish. So I have a controversial thing to say, and this might piss off a lot of people, but it's
No.
true. And I'm a fan of this guy. I'm a big fan of him. But I think of Nate Diaz when I think about a
Yeah.
guy who hasn't been able to really adjust his game as he's aged and as he's gotten
Yeah.
as he's progressed in his career. He's an exciting guy. He's a world talent, no doubt about it. He's an amazing boxer, and his jiu-jitsu is incredible. But he's so comfortable keeping fights on his feet. I get frustrated with him. It's like, Nate, go for a takedown. Like, you're amazing on the ground. Why don't you do that? And I get he's a showman, and I understand that to a point, but
He fights a lot of like war of attrition, like who can last the longest. And he gets hit, but like eventually his hits over time, like
set it
he
up.
just outlasts people. But like my coach is definitely like so I don't know if you know, but one my head coach is Cole Miller, 20-time UFC vet of the UFC. And we've talked because like he's in there, he still fucking spars with me. We go hard sparring, and he's like, look, I know you can go to war, but like that's not the goal, is to go to war and practice every day. So he's really kind of like pulled me back, and he's like, save the wars for when you really need them, because trust me,
You will.
you're going to need them, and you are going to go to war. He said it might not be on this local scene. He said, so don't get like, if a dude is super good standing up, just fucking take him down. Like, why do you have to like show this ego of I can hit you harder than you can hit me? We don't need to do that, right? If you're more skilled, fucking take him to where he's weak. And that's what I did on my pro debut. They changed my opponents 4 times. So you talk about having a game plan, and then another game plan, and then eventually we was like, hey, there is no game plan. We just need to be ready for whatever happens, because it's a week prior to the fight. And then they got me a guy, and we just found out that, okay, well, he won some Muay Thai belts when he was amateur. He lost by submission every time he fought MMA. He's really good at kickboxing. So it was like, cool, very simple game plan. Strike to a takedown. When you get down there, you're a jiu-jitsu brown belt. Use your jiu-jitsu. Like this guy obviously loses.
Yeah, I think you're one of the guys that can actually do that, though. Like, I think that there are other guys that are out there that don't have that luxury. Like, it's like, I'm a jiu-jitsu guy, and like striking scratch, and
Yeah.
they don't really like fine tune that, or really like they kind of like just get by on their striking, but like it's limiting. And at your sport, you can't really be like that. You have to be able to adjust if you're really
not anymore. Not anymore. The game has evolved. Like I'm a jiu-jitsu head. I like jiu-jitsu and Muay Thai, and boxing are my favorite martial arts. Right? Jiu-jitsu, Muay Thai, and boxing are my favorite martial arts. And I love Damian Maia, but like you said, his game is outdated, right? For the simple fact of you just can't get on the ground with him, right? And you see someone as high level as Gilbert Burns is, who is also one of the most world-class jiu-jitsu guys, right?
Right.
And then now you have 2 jiu-jitsu guys, but one guy has explosive striking. What do? Right? It's like somebody's going to get knocked out, because this guy knows how to stop the takedown. Yeah. He knows what to do to not get, to get in your he knows what to do not to swim in your waters. And it's like, and if he does, it's like, you can't have a singular game nowadays. You have to be able to mix it up. And that's what I realized, because I didn't wrestle in high school, right? I didn't wrestle in high school, none of that. And I knew that I didn't want that to be my weak point. When I looked at like fighting, I was like, man, so many of the greats have high wrestling pedigree. I need to start wrestling. So in 2016, I sought out, wrestling coaches, and not like just MMA wrestling. I was like, I got to learn how to wrestle, and then we can adapt it to MMA as I get more experience. So I started doing wrestling camps with high schoolers, middle schoolers. Like, I'm a grown ass man out there with fucking 14 and 15-year-olds, and they fucking washing me because I just don't know wrestling. But I'm like, I'm competitive. So like, I just started learning. And now I'll like stand up with people, like just wrestlers, and just people like, oh, where'd you wrestle? I'm like, I didn't. And they're like, get the fuck out of here. I'm like, no, but like, I got a good double, I got a good single, and then I got decent chain wrestling. And then because of the jujitsu, I know how to scramble and go on the ground. So I'm like just putting everything together. And like we've been really with my team been like building up the foundation. And it's weird because everybody else asks, what's your strongest point? And I'm like, I'm kind of like a jack of all trades. I don't want to say I'm the master of none because I'm good at jujitsu and my Muay Thai, but like I'm like, it's kind of like the jack of all trades. We've been laying, literally I wrote down like a pentagon and I was like, okay, boxing's here, this, and I was like, how do I get everything out? Like, how do I just broaden my foundation? So when I go up against the guy that has one or two skill sets, I just take him to another area. And that's why I've been able to like be successful and win because of that.
It sounds like a simple thing to like, it sounds like a simple strategy, but it's like difficult to execute that strategy because the only way you can execute that is to be so well-rounded and to put yourself in uncomfortable positions and to get your ass whipped in high school, like as a grown-ass man going to high school and getting your ass whipped by a bunch of high schoolers to improve a weakness. And some people, I hate to say it, aren't really willing to put their ego out like off to the side in order to do that. And to be great, you kind of have to stay humble and just kind of be like, you know what, like at the end of the day, is this going to make me better? And if so, I don't care what the sweat equity is. I don't care what, if it's unflattering, like I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to do it. It's like being a fat guy in the gym, right? Like it's uncomfortable. Everything hurts. You don't like being there and you're self-conscious. You may not have a lot of confidence. But once you get past that and you start making progress and you start seeing that progress, that it kind of like becomes a catalyst. It starts to get you going. And I'm sure that was like wrestling for you.
Yeah, but it's like everything has a cost, right? You pay now or you pay later. I could have invested more time in my jujitsu or more time in my Muay Thai, and then that would have stood out more. And then guess what? My last 4 fucking fights as an amateur were all against wrestlers.
Right.
They're all against wrestlers. So I fought a guy, Andrew Geigerich, who was 4-1. I was 3-0, and the dude was like 52-0 in wrestling in high school, like, all this other stuff. And I was like, well, looks like I'm fighting a wrestler, right?
Yeah, but he couldn't take you down, though. He couldn't take you down.
Yeah, well, because I started training wrestling. That's why.
Your takedown
so it was fresh. Yeah, I don't think
you took him down too, I thought, didn't you?
Huh?
At some point during the fight, didn't you take him down?
Yeah, so it was so it was really weird. I don't want to sound like I'm a very confident individual, but I'm not cocky. But like the guys that I was wrestling with, when I like was in the cage locked up with him, he didn't feel as like strong as those guys. And I know it's more about technique, but like my coach told me, he said, hey man, lay off the high kicks. He said, don't throw. He said, the whole first round, we're just gonna kick to the leg, keep it low, keep your distance, footwork, make them chase you. I was like, say less. I can move, be on my bike, boom, pop, like just kind of like popping my jab out there. And then when I found out like he was doing like this like switching like from southpaw to orthodox, I was like, well, every time he switches to southpaw, he's trying to just put his lead leg forward so he could shoot because you want to have his drive leg forward. So I picked that up in the tapes before, and I was like, well, every time he switches, I just circle out the other way. And then if he comes in, he's going to run into a head kick. Like, yeah, well, he's going to run into something, but I'm not going to throw any head kicks early in the fight because then I'm on one leg. It's easy for a wrestler to take him down. So it's like common sense. So I was like, I'll keep the leg kick short. And after I hit him with like 2 or 3 leg kicks, I kind of saw him like
he didn't like
favoring that leg. Like, yeah, he didn't like it. So he started shooting from further and further. And I was like, bro, there's no way you're not gonna bulldog me. I'm just gonna let you bulldog me. Yeah. And he got like kind of a takedown. He took me down when I bounced right back up. He didn't control me. And after I felt that, I was like, oh, that's it. We went back to the corner. He was like, hey man, double up on the jab, and now you could put some power behind your shots because you felt his wrestling now. And that's what I did. If you look from the first round to the second round, when I came out the second round, I literally was flat-footed. I stopped moving. I caught an overhand right, but I was going to take one so I could give a couple. And then right after that, he started moving. I stopped moving because I was like, all right, that's it. We're going to go forward. Mm-hmm. And then as soon as he circled out, I was like, all right, step, left kick, hit him with the high kick. And then when we got in a grappling exchange, I was like, I could take this guy down.
Well, you got that arm, man, and that was a slick submission. And you know, I really like that about you, that you were able to like decipher all that and really take your time. Having watched that fight, it seemed like again, that goes back to what I said before, fight IQ. Like you knew exactly what his game plan was, and you frustrated him, and you could tell that as the bout got progressed, he was getting more and more frustrated as time went on.
Yeah.
You were hard to hit. He didn't like that. And then his bread and butter, like you're stymieing that for him now. So now like what he wants to do, you've taken all those tools out of his chest, and now he's just standing there like, what the fuck am I gonna do now?
Yeah.
And you know, and that kid was not a gimme opponent, man. Like he was a tough guy. And talk to me about Calvin Miller. So you're fighting him on the 24th, and when you look at Calvin, like he's a guy that's been in the game for a really long time. I have a couple observations about him, but why don't you tell me what you think about Mr. Miller?
Okay. So I like the fight for me because it's a guy with a lot of experience. So there's not going to be anything that's going to be surprising to him. He's fought strikers, he's fought grapplers. He fought on the last card against Devontae Sewell right before me and Mike headlined the headline that event. He has decent striking, and if you decide to stand right in front of him and strike with him, then you're giving him an opportunity to do what he wants to do. No disrespect to him, but I'm not going to stand in front of anybody and just bang unless I have to, right? I don't just stand in front of anybody. Like, it's not an ego match for me. Like, I know I'm going to hit you, and I'm going to move enough in these first 5 minutes where I'm going to find, the shots. I think he has an old school way of fighting. He hasn't like adjusted to the times, so to speak. Like, his really good leg kick. He does have a really good leg kick, by the way. Has a really good leg kick, has a little check hook he likes to throw. He doesn't throw a lot of combinations. He does that weird little like karate style lead, like flick kick. It's not a lot on it, but it's just, something. It's kind of like a jab, just point. It's annoying, keep some distance. But if you make the agreement, which we call the gentleman's agreement, where it's like, all right, cool, we in the cage, I'm fighting, you fighting, and you stand right in front of him, you give the guy a lot of opportunities. But his weak area is obviously, even though he has a purple belt, it doesn't look like he has much wrestling as far as stopping takedowns. He stands, more straight up with his hips high. So I'm like, for me, it just doesn't seem like his game has adjusted yet to the modern era of MMA, where you gotta be moving, especially in the 135, 145 weight class. You gotta move. You gotta stick and move. If you're not moving at 135, you're done. You ain't going to the UFC, because all those guys gonna move high pace for 15 to 25 minutes, and it ain't gonna stop.
Yeah, so, absolutely. Output matters 100% at 135. If you're not like a high output guy, you better be, if you're gonna stay in that weight class. You better be. So I kind of picked up on some of the same things that you talked about. Like, I think he kind of has some like striker tendencies, brawler-esque kind of guy. Like, he wants to, like, he looks really strong to me on the feet, and he's a powerful guy. But I think his ground game, it can be exploited. I don't think, at least from what I have seen, a lot of the footage I've seen from him is kind of old.
So that was like a big thing we ran into. But the most recent fight, we saw Devontae Sewell controlled him a lot on the ground and did get some good ground and pound in. But with my jiu-jitsu ability, like, I want to ground and pound, but ultimately, like, I want to finish you. So obviously, if a guy took him down for 3 rounds and ground and pounded him for 3 rounds and didn't finish, that shows that Calvin has good defense. Like, he was doing the right things, getting the underhooks and like trying to posture up and get his back on the cage. But I think I'm gonna be more explosive, and like I'm gonna create some openings, and like you either go with it, or if you stay there and you're a step behind, then it puts you in a worse position. So like, I'm not gonna sit in anybody's guard and just ground and pound them forever if it's not going to be solid. I'm going to be looking to ground and pound and posture up and get to the next position. And if they give up the back or side control or half guard, then I'm looking to cut the head off the snake.
So we can, this isn't live, so we can go ahead and we can edit out what I'm about to say if we need to. He doesn't like rear naked chokes. He doesn't like that.
Yeah, like
he doesn't like submissions, man. Like, and I think that's what you can exploit.
Yeah, look, you could post whatever you want. I trained at a Cole Miller Miller martial arts gym. All right, so you want to talk about attacking the back and back defense? That's like number one. Like if you watch any of Cole Miller's fights, his jiu-jitsu just top notch, high level. He hasn't fought in the UFC in probably the last 4 or 5 years, and he's still on the top 10 list for submission finishes. Like, come on, like you know.
I think you're going to pick up a submission against Calvin. I do. I think that's what, if I had to like be a Nostradamus and make a prediction on how you'll win, I think you'll get it done by submission. And I do think a rear naked choke is what's going to do it. I think he's going to give you his back and you're going to flatten him out, and that'll be it. That's my prediction.
Yeah, if somebody go flattened out, then if they go flattened out, then it's a TKO. But if they flatten out and leave that neck up, you know, we got something for that.
So Moon, is this a guy that you wanted, or did they just offer him to you? Can you take me behind the scenes? Like, how did this fight with Miller come to fruition?
All right. So as a fighter, for me, it's more of a team effort now. As an amateur, it was different because I went undefeated as an amateur, but like that wasn't my goal. Like people get so hung up on the undefeated and shit like that. And I tell guys who come to me at fights, like I worked a fight show this weekend for my friend, real good friend. We trained together. We're also training partners, Cam Wallace, and then another good friend of mine who's a 135 amateur champ right now, Malcolm Wellmaker. We just call him Walla. But they had a fight show. I helped corner Cam. And there was a bunch of the fighters coming up to me, the newer guys. Oh man, you know, we follow you, we like what you do, da, da, da. And like, I just tell them as amateurs, take the toughest fights. Like your record doesn't matter. Once you go, if you have aspirations to go in pro, fucking take the tough fights. Don't try and be an undefeated, unscathed amateur. Like, yeah, obviously you want to win the fights, but you want to challenge yourself there so you know what you're getting into when you step into the Shark Tank. Like, I asked a guy who asked me for some advice. I was like, hey, who's the best amateur fighter in the world? And he was like, I don't know. I was like, exactly, because it doesn't matter. Like, unless you're a professional, who gives a shit? Like, doesn't matter, right? So take the tough fights as an amateur. That way, when you go pro, you know, you can have a better career. And as an amateur, I was accepting anything, any opportunity. And I wasn't trying to I fought out of my weight class. I fought at 150. I fought at 145. I fought the number one guy on 28 days notice after I had a fucking knee injury and came back from vacation, was like a little bit depressed. So I was overweight and I was like, this is the opportunity. I'm not giving up this opportunity. I was like, my goal was to be the number one in the Southeast amateur, because I was like in the top 20 and I worked my way up to number 7. I was like, well, fuck it, I'm gonna go beat the number one guy. He was a wrestler, purple belt, finished, has like 6 finishes, and then I knocked him out and I bumped up, and my coach was like, what do you want to do, be the best amateur in the world? And I was like, no. He's like, it's time to go pro. And I was like, all right, go. And I'm understanding now as a pro, it's not about just, I'll fight. Yeah, I'll fight anybody and all that good stuff, but it's more of a team effort. If they want to kind of build you to be and get to the UFC, they want to see what you got. They want to see, okay, well, you beat a guy who has 1 to 2 fights. Cool. Let's give him another guy with 1 or 2 fights. Make sure it wasn't a fluke. Then they say, okay, well, let's give him a guy with some experience. It doesn't matter if he has a winning record or not, to see how you handle adversity. And, you know, promotions and management and coaches, they all want to see this. And I'm just waiting to get this 3rd win in. Yes, I'm gonna go get this 3rd win in. And then when I get that 4th win in, apparently the chain's off and they said I can go get all the smoke that I want. So like people have offered me fights and I'm like, I'll take it. And my management's like, nah, it's not a good idea. Not that like the guy is good or the guy is bad. It's just like, hey, look, this is trajectory we're going, this is distracting you from here. You're going to go to some place where you're basically fighting this guy for no reason, or they're trying to bring you in as the underdog. And I'm like, I don't care. I want to go get it. He's like,
Yeah.
He had to, like, my management and my team had to like really corral me, because that fight with Mike Wilson was my first fight in 15 months. Right. And I had five canceled bouts, 4 canceled actual contracts the day before, on 3 of them on weigh-in day. And then the other one was a week before the fight. And I was just like, I'll fight who the fuck ever. Like, I don't care. Like, get me in the cage. And so, like, a little bit of that excitement showed on against Mike Wilson, where I might have been a less disciplined than I normally am. I just went because I was excited to be there, and I was feeding off the energy of the crowd. The first time we had a crowd back, since Corona and like all this stuff. But I didn't necessarily pick Calvin Miller. I have a hard time finding fights as it is. So I'm always just like, whoever they give me, like, so I just let my management and my coaches like put everything to the table, because I trust them that they're going to steer me in the right direction. But my coach Cole told me, so, yo, once you get a couple more guys with experience, who have more experience than you at the pro level, then we can go ahead and take the chains off, and you're going to start fighting. So you're going to fight the guys on your level or above your level. And I'm like, that's what I want. But those guys who are currently above my level as far as record go will not accept to fight me, because it's a high risk, low reward for them. They're like, oh, Amun Cosme is 2-0, and these guys might have 8 wins or 9 wins, and they might need 1 more win to be on the Contender Series or Bellator or this. And I'm low risk, because they're like, why would if I lose to a 2-0 guy, I got to get 3 more wins before going. And I'm like, give me that guy, because I want the dude who's 8-3 or 10-1 or whatever. I want to show that, like, if I beat him, and then my manager was like, yeah, you beat him, and then nobody accepts to fight you. And I'm like, yeah. See, this is why I'm the fighter, and then you're the manager. Yeah, and I was just like,
and I was just ready to ask you that. It's like, because you are where you are, like, is it difficult to get fights? And you just answered the question.
Oh man,
incredibly difficult. That's what I'm hearing, because
it kind of is. I had to stop. Well, I'm currently putting a stop to it. As an amateur, I do these things called traincation. So anytime I don't go on vacation, I'm like, if I'm gonna go and take time off and I'm gonna be away from my gym, anywhere I go, I always look up a gym. And I'm like, okay, so I've, had good rapport out in Tennessee, out in the Atlanta area, and kind of like South Carolina. And then I realized, like, all right, well, now all these people know who I am as an amateur, which is good to get your name out. But now as a pro, they're like, nah. Like,
I know who that guy is. Yeah. Like, I'm not fighting that guy.
Yeah. So like, and I guess it's good to have that kind of good as a reputation, but then like, the people who will accept the fights is like slim to none. And then you got other fighters who are like, I'll fight you, but then their management is like,
Yeah.
Like,
well, if I've
had guys that we've literally like agreed, like, yeah, fuck it, we'll do it, let's do it, let's mix it up, we cool, we like, hey, we got 15 minutes, let's go give us some fire, let's make this happen. And then like their gym or their management's like, nah, don't do that, Moon's 1-0. Like, why would you do that? It's like, well,
I wouldn't. If I had a fighter I was managing, I wouldn't have him fight you for the reasons you outlined. Unless like he's just turning pro, why would I have him fight you? Like, there's there's nothing really in it for him at that point.
Yeah, and that's why once I get like about 4 fights, then it'll be better, because then it can say, oh shit, well, he's 4-0, like, or 3-0, or 3, whatever the record is. They're like, okay, well, he has enough with a positive record to give you benefit if you win, or if you lose, it's better to lose with a guy with a really good record, so it doesn't like stifle your loss. And I've always looked at it the other way. When I took that fight against Joe Maddock on short notice, I was like, he's 7-0, I'm 6-0. Like, if I beat this guy, like, shit, I wasn't even thinking like, oh, if I lose, like, I'm gonna not be undefeated. I was like, yo, if I beat this guy, like, I'm be the number 1 in the Southeast. Like, I didn't think about the after effects of, oh, you're not gonna be able to find her. I didn't think about none of that shit. Right. Like, that's stupid. Like,
you remind me of, like, you're in the same place as Juan Adams. I talked to Juan Adams probably about a month ago,
Mm.
and some of the stuff that you're saying is what he was telling me. Like he's in a weird spot. So we all know a little bit about one. Like he tore up the promotions he was with. He went to UFC, just got a string of bad luck. There were a lot of things that were going on with him, and it didn't work
Yeah.
out for him. And now he's back in, I think he's with Fury FC, and
Okay.
he's in a type of situation where people know who he is. I'm wearing his shirt too, by the way.
Hey,
There we go.
that's
Yeah,
nice.
yeah. He's a cool guy, man. He's like, yeah, he's just a big teddy bear. I love that. I love Juan Adams. He'll be back. But he was telling me kind of the same thing. He was just like, I'm in this weird no man's land where like half the people don't want to fight me because I'm high risk, low reward to some guys. And then I'm in another
Yep.
situation where you get these like crazy cats that are out there like, man, like Juan Adams fought in the UFC. If I can he's a name, people know who he is. If I can get a dub off him, like that's just gonna put me
Yeah.
up. So it's like this weird kind of
Boost my
you're,
stock.
there's those are two extremes, and you're kind of like parked right in the middle, and that can make life difficult. And it's probably
Yeah.
best you leave it to the suits to figure out, you know, how you're gonna fight and who you're gonna fight. That probably reduces a lot of anxiety on your end. So Moon,
Yeah. Not it does. It does.
I wanted to ask you a little bit. You could not ever lose another fight in your life. You could go to the UFC and stay undefeated and get the strap. And that would probably be the most trivial thing of your life. And the reason why I say that is because like I think people were put on this planet for a reason. And I think fighting's probably a small part of who you really are and like what you're all about. Like, yes, obviously you're passionate about it. Otherwise you wouldn't be doing this. But we're in hard times. It's difficult for a lot of people out there. People go through mental health problems, people go through confidence issues, people have mental health issues, alcoholism, joblessness. And in this always connected environment that we're in with the internet, like it's easy to like get into a death spiral. Like you wake up, you're like, there's too much shit going on today. I'm not getting out of bed. I feel like shit. And that's something that I identify with. I've been struggling with depression, anxiety. I have a lot of things that I've been having to go to therapy for to try to like work out. And like amidst the pandemic, it's made life that was already hard to begin with even more difficult. So now it's weird, right? Because it's like, man, like how do we socialize with people again? Like how do we like people are just trying to get back in the fold and like reintegrate into society. And like you're the type of man that's like you have this energy about you, and there's something about you that like I think draws people to you, and you seem like a really special kind of guy. So I don't really want to talk about fighting. I really want to just talk about you as a man. Like, what is it about you that you want people to know?
Yeah. Man, that's a great question. One of my first interviews ever with Arthur Perlman, um, he asked me like why I fight, and a lot of people get confused with the my answer as I fight because it makes me a better person. Um, and he's like, "Well, could you elaborate on that?" And I was just like, "Exactly what you just said, right? I don't care who you are, right? I'm not talking about professional fighters, right? I'm talking about mothers, brothers, daughters, people. I don't care what you look like, where you're from, uh, what you identify as, your color, your race, uh, big, small, tall. I don't care what it is. Everybody is fighting a battle or multiple battles. And this is something that in society we don't see every day because of this virtual world we live in. We're connected to everybody. It's so weird, right? It's a duality of with the internet, we're so connected to so many things that it makes us more disconnected with each other. And I go through it every single day, just about. And it's this thing of should I post? Do I want to post? Why am I posting? Right. And it's guys like you or people who reach out to me when I don't post in a while, or I don't share my words of wisdom or stuff like that, that encourage me to do it even when I don't want to do it. And just a part of who I am, like when Matt Perlman asked me that question, I was like, you don't have to be a fighter, but everybody out there is fighting for something. And fighting makes me a better person because I deal with all the same stuff that everybody else is dealing with. It's just on a higher magnitude as a fighter because it's more pressure as a fighter. Like you have so much more people like expecting things of you, and it's hard to live up to other people's expectations, but sometimes it makes it hard to live up to your own expectations depending on what they are. And you can start living in this other world, and then you like your world doesn't mean anything. So you kind of go through this like little loop, and we fight those battles every single day. And like for me, being a fighter allows me to confront myself in those battles all the time when I'm feeling depressed, when I'm feeling like a lack of confidence, when I'm feeling doubt, when I'm feeling fear, when I'm feeling anxiety. You go through all these things when you're training or in a training camp, when you're under stress and under pressure. And as a fighter, it's helped me to learn to deal with those things. So when I fighters, I think I'll try and convey a message that people can understand based off of whatever emotions that I'm feeling. You've seen sometimes I posted and I don't look too happy. I'm just like, but it's funny because those are the posts where people will like message me and like, hey, this really stuck out for me today, or this really, picked me up today, and I'm glad you said something, and I hope you're doing well. And anytime I get those messages and stuff like that, it just reminds me that my mom told me, that I'm here for a purpose. I remember one time I got into a really bad altercation with somebody who was like a brother to me, and we're no longer cool. We don't talk anymore. And I just broke down at work one day. I was like 24, and like I just went in the back. I just started crying because I was like, man, I just realized like I chose to lose a person I chose to get rid of someone in my life, and it hurt. And my mom called me, and I went through a bunch of shit. I called my mom because we're real close, and then I was just talking with her, and I was just like, man, I'm so tired of being a good person. I'm so tired of being a good person. And she says, what do you mean? I was like, and I was playing the victim role and didn't even know it. I was like, man, I've been trying to help so many people out in my life, and like everybody's taking advantage of me and this, that, and the third. And that's like playing the victim role without even knowing it. And she was like, you can't not be good. She's like, good's not what you do. Good is who you are. And that right there, like when she said that, I just cried even more. She was like, so my middle name is Amun. My first name is Kerudin. And it means goodness in the way of judgment, or Dean in the way of life. And she says, I named you that for a reason, because it's not what you do, it's who you are. And I was just like, that always stuck out. And then my middle name is Amun, which is the hidden one or the protector. So it's just a part of who I am. It's not something that I'm trying to put on, or like a image that I'm putting out there. So when people meet me, it's just the genuine me. When I've had people meet me in person, it's like, oh my God, you're the same person you are on Instagram. And I was like, yeah, like it's like, you're happy and you're this and you're genuine. I'm like, yeah, like I'm a nice guy, but like, I want to provide light to people's lives, and be energy in something that when I'm gone, people can remember. And it doesn't have to be remember forever. I just want to impact people, and I don't want to come into contact with someone without having some sort of impact on them, regardless of what it is. And obviously I would like it to be a positive impact. As long as nobody disrespects me, then I have no reason to disrespect people. But I always put my respect for other people first, so they know that's who I am. And then, however, normally when you respect someone, they respond in a respectful way. And that's how I kind of build the people and the network that I kind of grow with, and like the support system that I have. That's why when I go to fights, they sell out. And I tell people I don't call people fans because I don't want to make it seem like I think I'm up here and you guys are down here. I'm like, I call them supporters because you guys supporting this very, very rough journey that I'm on. But that's pretty much like part of who I am as a person. Like, I think if you have some sort of impact, if you could provide something to other people's lives of value, do it. Like, in whatever shape, form, or fashion. And like, I've been able to reach more people with my words of wisdom on Instagram. So it's something I consistently do. People are like, oh, you should do this, that, and the third. I'm like, I don't really like to live in the virtual world as much as I already am doing.
Right. I'm in the
We have to
same.
do it as a part of like fighter.
I'm in the same boat, brother. Like I really am. Like I started this whole thing up on the advice of my therapist, believe it or not. Without her, like none of this stuff would exist. And just talking about
Mm-hmm.
what I want to do and what impact I want to make. And I was just kind of like, well, this is something that I'm passionate about. And just because of what I have going on and just where I'm at in my life, listen, like I was not put on this earth to be a professional fighter. That wasn't the path I was supposed to take.
Yeah.
But it's something I'm still passionate about. And I know without knowing, like I know what how difficult that road is and how difficult that trek is. And what makes me like what kind of like I don't know if it makes me sad is the right word or not, but like there's so many talented men and women in the world that don't have the opportunity for whatever reason, whether it be finances, whether it be publicity, a lack of both, or just bad luck. There are so many talented people that don't have that opportunity to move up. And it's not because they're not trying, it's not because they're not putting in the
Yeah.
work. They are. But sometimes there are just things that happen that are outside of our control. And when you're a fighter, like it's the only thing that I can think of where that's the easy part. Like you have to learn how to be a promoter, you have to learn to be a businessman, you have to learn PR, you have to learn how to do interviews, you have to learn who to train with, you have to learn how to eat. Like it's not like playing baseball. You show up and you play baseball, you practice, and I'm not taking away anyone who plays baseball. I'm not saying you're not talented, but you have to like sell tickets. Do you have to, you know what I mean? Do you have to like
Yeah.
think about what team you're playing against next? Like all that stuff's taken care of. Show up and play.
Yeah.
Like for you guys, it's
Yeah.
you just want to fight, but there's so many other things that are
Yeah.
roadblocks and obstacles to getting there. And
I,
I'm hopeful that in my own small way, I'm doing my part to help out guys like you that are like on the up and up and they have this platform to let people know like, hey, like, listen, I'm out here and I need your support. Like buy a ticket from me, buy a shirt from me.
yeah.
Because that support is just absolutely critical. And
Yeah. It
um,
makes a difference. It makes a
it,
huge
and,
difference.
right. I think the least we can do for those of us that like enjoy watching the shows and stuff, the least we can do is like support the fighters. So you guys give us everything in the cage. I don't think it's asking too much for us to buy a shirt or
Yeah.
you know what I mean? Like
Yeah.
I don't know. So that was just something that kind of stuck with me, and that's why I started this. And I get more out of this than I ever thought. I've only been doing this for like 45 days and I've already talked to Anthony Smith. I've already talked to like the
Yeah.
people I wanted to talk to. It's just kind
Yeah.
of surreal, man.
And I have a question for you. How did that happen? I looked over, I was like, hold on, here's Anthony Smith. What? When is this happening?
So I will say this about Anthony Smith. I talked to him for about an hour after we stopped recording too. And I don't think it's
Oh,
anything that I'm doing right. I think it's just a matter of him that's just the type of guy he is. He is so kind and so humble. He's the type of guy, like, he doesn't even know me. I'm like a perfect stranger to him. But like if my car broke down on the side of the road, he'd pull over and help. Like that's just the type of
yeah.
guy he is. But just a super kind, cool dude. I will say this: like most of the fighters are pretty cool. Some not so much when you get to talking to them, but that's okay. Like that happens, and I get a lot of joy and pleasure knowing that, I did my small part, and I let people know, like, hey, these guys are out there, and my prep is the same. Like, I put
Yeah,
in, actually, that's probably a lie. I probably work a lot harder on for the fighters that are up and coming, because for some of them, not you, because I know you've been on several podcasts, but there'll be some fighters for sure. Like, I'll be the first show they've ever been on, and this is like their
yeah.
first opportunity. So it's like, okay, like I got to get this right for them. Like, I really have to like buckle down and dive into this, and find out what I can find out. And I that's like a
I
big
treat
responsibility.
yeah, I treat every podcast like it's my first podcast. Like for me, I'm like, I don't care if you're like shooting it like out of your mom's basement, or if it's like or if it's like, like I'm gonna go to a studio, they want me to come to them. Like for me, it's an opportunity. And like uh you treat the CEO, you treat the janitor with the same respect that you treat the CEO. It's not about where they are, right? It's about, the effort that people are giving and what they're doing. And it's like, I'm not gonna be like, my best friend just started his podcast. And he was like, man, I want to have you on the show, man. When can we do it? Da, 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 da. This was like before I fought Mike Wilson. I was like, yeah, man. He's like, man, I don't want to like get in your schedule. If you got anything in plan, I said, bro, like let's do it. Like, stop treating me. I was like, bro, we've known each other for 10 years. Stop treating me like I'm a fucking superstar. Give me the date. Let me put it on the schedule. Let's rock. He's like, man, can I bring the camera equipment? I was like, let's do it. Like,
Yeah.
every opportunity is an opportunity for us to help grow each other. So I'm like, it's not a one-way street. And that's one issue that I do see with a lot of fighters is like, they don't understand their own value, or they overvalue themselves. So they think people are supposed to give to them. And I'm just like, no, like guys ask me all the time, how do you get sponsors? I'm like, I do a lot for my sponsors. Like, yeah, my first couple sponsors started off as people like family that I knew, their own business, but I never just took my family's money or like close friends' money from their business and just slap their logo on my banner, and that was it. I've made commercials. I plug them on all interviews, podcasts. I do posts. They get like, I have a sponsor network. So all my elite sponsors get access to my other sponsor network. So now I have more sponsors. Like I have 3 car sponsors. All right, well, 4. One is a car salesman. One is a car transport. One does car parts, and the other one does recycling of the car parts. And it's like, cool. Now I just put them in contact. So now they get more of a business relationship, not just me putting their stuff to be seen by other people. And I'm like, these are little business, because I have a little business background. These are things that fighters are unaware of, right? But a lot of times they're like, oh, okay, how do I get a sponsor to give me money? And I'm like, well, what do you do for your sponsor? Oh, I made a post. I'm like, what does that do for your sponsor?
Yeah. Yeah.
And like, they're unaware and they think that they're supposed to get the money. And I'm like, yeah, but like, what are you doing for the monetary value, right? Besides giving them a spot on your banner. Yes, that is valuable, but what else can you do for them? So it's like this two-way street of no matter how big or small a business is, I always want to make sure I'm doing the work for them. And this right here is like your business. And I'm like, I don't want to, I put this on my schedule. I made sure it was during a time where we could do it. And I'm not going to be like, oh man, it's just this lower level, that's not doing it. Like, nah, that's entitlement. And that's one thing that I fucking hate. Like, if I can say it, I can't stand entitled people. You don't deserve shit. Okay. You don't deserve anything. You only deserve the shit that you work for. And guess what? After you got it, you need to work to continue to have it. You don't keep getting it because you got it that one time. And like,
Absolutely. And
that's what it's like to be a champ. You get the belt. And then when people get the belt, you don't stop doing what you did to get the belt. You got to do more in order to retain the belt. It's like, you need to treat fucking life like that. Wherever you're at, if this is the best spot you're at in your life, you have to maintain that level of excellence to stay there or go further. Don't say, I got here, and then you get complacent.
Yeah. And you know, and that's why, like, you know, every single one of these I do, I try getting better, and I try to, you know, I always say to myself, like, my best interview will be my next one,
Yep.
because it'll there's always something to learn, and there's always things that we can do to improve and be better. And like, I know, like, I have this quiet confidence about me, like, despite what I've named my show, and despite some of the stupid stuff I put out there, behind the scenes, it's a grind, man. Like, I'm grinding and I'm doing what I can, and I don't need the money. Like, I'm not in this for money. That's not why I did this. I
Yeah.
did this because I want to make an impact, and so it's like, I don't care. Like, I don't really do a good job of like letting, like, self promoting. Really, I kind of like am
Mhm.
going to rely on like word of mouth and let people and other fighters hopefully plug me, because it's like, it's too soul crushing to me. I'm not gonna go out there. I'm not gonna like beg people to like follow me. I'm not gonna beg people for interviews. I'm not gonna. That's not who I am. It's like, hey, listen, like, you're a cool guy. I'm interested in your career. I'm a fan. Would you like to be on the show? Cool, great. Let's set it up. No,
Do it.
okay. Well, guess what? Like, there are 10 other people I can talk to that are standing in line that would love that opportunity, and I would be more than happy
Hey,
to oblige them.
organic growth is the best. Like when I wasn't on Instagram for the longest. Like I got on Instagram in 2016. Instagram was already popping, and I just did it because that's when I took my first fight. I was like, well, I guess I'll do it. And then like I started getting more consistent. Now I'm more consistent with Instagram. And at one point in time, I was like, oh man, should I like pay for followers? Like, how do I build up my Instagram? And I was like, what the fuck are you doing? I was like, throw that shit out the window. I was like, grow organically. The people who want to see you are going to be the people who are interested. And like, when you grow organically, it's so much better. Like, the people who are on your Instagram. I get to talk with them directly, and like, I get to speak with. I put fans with quotation marks because like I don't like to call people fans, but like some of them are fans, but like supporters and people who just kind of support the journey. But when I say fans, people recognize them as people who like me because I fight. But
Mhm.
like, yeah, I'm in contact with the people who want what I have, right? They want to see the words of wisdom, the books, the coffee, the guy singing who can't sing while he does meal prep, the crazy hair, the fighting, the atmosphere. That's what they're there for. So it's like, I get to engage with the people who want it versus like, oh man, going out and getting fucking fake followers. I see people with like 20, 30,000 followers, but like it's not about the likes, but have like 10 likes.
Yeah,
I'm like, yeah, you got a bunch of bots, bro. Like you got 30,000 followers, but there's only 10 people who like your shit and
yeah,
you can't get 5 sponsors, then
yeah.
something not right. I got 2,000 followers.
There were
So yeah, I think like I said, when you make that
there's I'm not going to say names, but I'll say this. There are a couple of y'all who are following me that meet what that criteria you just said. I'm like, there's no way. There's no way you have 50,000 people. There's no way. I'm not buying that at all. Like, you're not big time. Don't
so
think you are.
I watched my friend organically go viral. Organically,
Uh-huh.
right? So she's actually moving here. She fights. She probably needs to be somebody you have on next. Oh, not next, but like in the very near future. Her name's Caitlin McDowell. She fights, really talented, right?
I think I
Uh,
follow her, or she follows me. I think so.
yeah,
That sounds familiar.
yeah. You've definitely seen her post or and reposted some of her stuff, and she has reposted some of your stuff as well. She's moving down so she can join the Miller Martial Arts team. So
Oh,
she's coming down here to train full time. But I saw her go viral. Like she did this jujitsu post. It has almost 2 million views now. This
dang.
jujitsu competition. She posted it. She came to see my last fight. She came to Georgia for a week. So she came and she saw the fight. She had like 5,000 followers. Within 3 days, she got like 20 something thousand followers. But like she doesn't pay for followers now. Like she was like, yo, I'm trying to like get on my Instagram to check comments and stuff, but like every time I go on, it's like 100 new followers, 100 new followers, 100 new followers. I was like, what happened? She says, I go on a viral jujitsu page had reposted her post.
Oh, and that's how.
And it went from 1,000 views. She had like 4,000. She had like 5,000 followers, and she follows like 5,000 people. It's not like, oh, I'm trying to follow. No, she followed. She went from 5,000, 6,000, 7,000. The night of the fight, she had 8,000. The next day, we all hung out, like the people from my gym and stuff. We hung out, 10,000. She's like, yo, it's going up every day. And I was like, are they real followers? She's like, these are real people. And then so she went back to her jujitsu video. It was like 600,000 views, 700,000 views, 800,000 views. Then the rap song that she put on it, the rapper commented on it. So then he got more views.
Oh, man.
And I was like, it was weird to see like organic growth, but like you saying, you'll get to a point to where you'll interview someone and then next thing you know, they'll get 100 new followers because they're like,
yeah,
they were on your podcast. People didn't even know them, but they know they like you. They like fighting. They're like, hey, who's this person? And then, but it happens like that. And when it happens organically, it's like, oh man, these are people who actually follow and support what I do. And that's a good feeling because like when I have my t-shirts, I got one right here. Hold on. So this is the first t-shirt that I had that I came out with, right? So my Lunar Unlimited right here.
Oh, that's cool.
And I got some tank tops coming out. Hopefully they'll be done before this next fight. We're in the process of trying to make sure the design and everything. The design is finished, but we're trying to make sure like I don't do anything like half-assed. So we like good quality and all that good stuff. But like I put in my first order of shirts. I was sold out after like 4 days. I was like, holy shit, I should have did more shirts. Yeah. Yeah. But I was like, that's because the people were like supporting me. And then like I put a lot of quality into the shirts and stuff. So like people still wear it. They don't just wear it for the fight. They like work out in it. I get like picture messages. People like, oh yeah, I'm still wearing the shirt. I was like, yeah, they were fucking expensive. I put a lot of money into the shirts. I hope they wear well.
I bet. And like, you know, it's one of those things where it's not like you can just buy like, you know, hey, yo, give me 12 of them. It's like, yeah, I need 500. And they're like, okay, cool. It's going to cost you $1,500.
Yep. Yeah. Like people don't know that. Like my first shirt order was, it cost me almost
like that
$1,000, bro.
Yeah, it's like $1,000, $1,500, and then you put the thing, and you're like, man, I hope I can sell this pile of shirts and get my money back.
I had to save up fucking 3 months just to like. I had to budget to buy my shirts. People like, when the shirt's coming out, I'm like, I gotta get the right material, I gotta get the right design, I gotta do this, I gotta get a test shirt made and then wash it, and wear it, and wash it, and wear it, and work out and then wash it, and wear it. See if the design don't fade, the logo, boom, boom. And I was like, cool.
Yeah, most people don't do that.
I gotta save $1,000 to go put this shirt order in.
Right. Like most people wouldn't do that. Like that's just kind of like your personality, right? Like most people I feel would have just been like, yeah, man, slap my name on it. Like, let's get this quick and let's get that carrot, let's get that money. And it's like, but from a branding standpoint, you're doing the right thing.
Yeah.
It's about putting in your dues and
yeah.
And I feel like I've done that today with you, man. Like you're an amazing guy. I really enjoyed speaking with you and I can't wait to watch one of your fights. But before I let you go, I want to give you an opportunity. Where can people find you on IG and what are some of the things that you got going on with your sponsors and anything else that you're a part of that you'd like to share?
Okay. Definitely. Right now you can find me on Instagram. It's my first name, last name, MMA, but it's an underscore. So Amun, AMUN underscore Cosme, COSME underscore MMA. And then it's Amun Cosme on any other platform, which is really just Facebook, Facebook and Instagram. Also, my website is just amuncosme.com, AMUNCOSME.com. It's currently it's getting revamped right now, so I can start doing all my like t-shirt sales and stuff just through my website. Also upcoming July 24th, back in the district in Atlanta. If you can't get there, then watch it live on Flow Combat. Flow Combat is an awesome platform. You know, they give all the amateurs, you know, as well as professionals, the ability for a very high quality, streaming service for it's not expensive at all. So like if you just wanted to watch the fight, you get a 1 month subscription. You don't have, subscribe, for a whole year if you're not a fan. If you just want to see one fight, it'd be like $20. So essentially less than a ticket. You could throw a fight, a watch party. I do have a couple sponsors. Literally without the sponsors, I wouldn't be able to do what I do. I don't have a 9-to-5 job. I quit all that stuff a long time ago, years back, so I could dedicate my life fully to martial arts. So where people train work 40 hours a week, I'm training and watching film and studying and doing that 40 hours a week plus, as well as, fight training camp and help training others as well. So without my sponsors, I really wouldn't be able to do it. So I want to go ahead and give a shout out to my sponsors. My number one sponsor is Cater Converters. They are a recycling business. They buy catalytic converters direct from consumers in North and South America in order to extract platinum, and then they sell the platinum in the open stock exchange. Also, I have a new sponsor. I would like to give a shout out to Vic. He has Morton Electric. All right, they serve where service meets quality. Training quality electricians in Atlanta area to provide excellent home electrical services. The services include everything from installation, lighting to electrical safety. Also, my brother's way out in Washington, Matt Savages. Y'all know that I love my jiu-jitsu. If y'all don't follow Matt Savages, MATSAVAGES on Instagram, go follow them if you like grappling. Henzo Gracie affiliates, if I'm not mistaken. It's a community of martial arts, but it's more than just about jiu-jitsu martial arts. Matt Savages want to help make the world a better place by standing up to bullying and self-empowerment for people all over the world through the combat arts. So I'm really, glad to have them as not just a sponsor, but I actually train with these guys, man. The brothers, they're awesome. All right. PMG Trucking and Recycling. They do car shipping requests, meets quality service. They do expediting and handling and direct auto transporter. All right. And then last but not least, one of my new sponsors, Superior Security Concepts. It's a new outlook on personal security. Be your own bodyguard. So just how we practice self-defense, they practice if you don't have any skills with handling firearms, they do everything from self-defense, firearm courses, handgun skills, consulting. They do executive protection and security driving, detailing, all of that. You can just look them up, securityconcepts.com. They're also on Instagram as well as Facebook. So those are my sponsors. Thank you for letting me plug my sponsors. Wouldn't be able to do it without them. Also, Any Tree Solution, demo, they need to cut down a tree, plant a tree, do anything. Hard-working gentlemen. And they also are in the Georgia area. So if you need some help, anything, contact me and I can give you the contact information for my sponsors.
Well, we'll hook that up. And Moon, I appreciate you and I appreciate your time. And for everyone who's listening to this, if y'all are watching this on YouTube, please like and subscribe to my channel. That helps out my algorithm, but it isn't about me. It's about guys like Moon. And I want to make sure that we can help spread the message and to let as many people possibly know that these amazing athletes are out there. That's what this is really all about. That's what my channel is founded upon. And then, a few years from now, when Moon's in the UFC or Bellator or wherever he is, you guys can look back on this and just say to yourself, like, I remember that dude. He was on Tyler's podcast. And that's what this is all about. It's about investing in the future, and Moon is definitely part of the future. Moon, thank you for being here, man. You're a true
Thank
gentleman.
you for having me.
And we look forward to having you again on the show in the near future.
I appreciate it.